And yet, funding for our schools has not risen. Salaries for our teachers have not risen beyond inflation. The federal government has cut back federally funded programs that our schools benefited from. Over the last 15 years, this legislature has pushed more and more unfunded mandates onto our local governments, forcing counties to tighten their own belts and cut back on services. And in Western North Carolina, where I'm from, we have the extra added financial pressure of recovering from a hurricane without the necessary funds from Raleigh or DC. Many of y'all know by now that I taught in Buncombe County schools before being elected to office. This is personal to me and to millions of people in North Carolina. Providing for a general and uniform system of free public schools wherein equal opportunities should be provided to all students is literally in our state constitution. It is why I ran for office. And our students and our teachers and our schools are why I continue to fight for this essential and desperately needed funding. We've got multiple folks here today to talk about our public schools and their personal experiences and personal perspective, and I'm proud to stand with them. Next is my colleague in the House, Representative Rodney Pierce.
Thank you, Representative Prather. Thank you, Representative Von Hafen, for asking me to speak today. My name is Rodney D. Pierce. I'm the representative for House District 27, which is Halifax, Northampton, and Warren counties. I am an alumnus and a former, well, I actually started my teaching career in Halifax County Schools, which is one of the original plaintiffs of the Leandro lawsuit. When this case was filed initially in 1994, it was filed in Halifax County Superior Court. And the first judge to hear that case was the Honorable Richard Alsbrook, whose father, Julian Alsbrook, is the reason that you have the date of April 12, 1776 on your state flag commemorating the Halifax Resolve. So I'm a history teacher by trade, so I figured I'd give y'all a little something. Yeah, thank you all for being here. Today I want to speak plainly about what is at stake for the children of North Carolina. The recent Leandro decision by our state Supreme Court marks a clear departure from long-standing precedent and from the spirit of the 1868 Constitutional Convention. That moment in our history established a fundamental promise that every child in North Carolina has a right to a sound basic education, regardless of where they live. But this decision puts that promise at risk. The counties at the center of Leandro are largely rural, lower wealth counties: Halifax, Hoke, Vance, Cumberland, Robeson, however you pronounce it. These schools are already working with fewer resources, yet they are expected to meet the same standards. A sound basic education requires real support, interventionists, instructional coaches, MTSS support, reading specialists, teaching assistants, etc. Without them, students fall behind through no fault of their own. Opportunities also vary widely. Some students have access to advanced placement and international baccalaureate courses, along with enrichment programs, while others do not. Programs like our Cooperative Innovative High School Network, early colleges, have helped bridge that gap, especially in rural areas. My oldest daughter attends one. Without them, many students would have far fewer pathways to success. The promise that was made in 1868 was clear and unconditional. It did not depend on zip code or local wealth. We have a responsibility to uphold that promise and ensure every student in North Carolina has access to the resources and opportunities they need to succeed. Thank you. Now, next up will be Mr. Xavier Adams.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Xavier Adams. I'm a teacher at Orange High School, and in 2022, I was named North Carolina's Beginning Teacher of the Year. While in this role, I have witnessed the incredible work that teachers are doing for their students across the state, from Macon County all the way to Pender County. In Macon County, I met a teacher that wrote a grant to develop a CTE career pathway for rural students to become pilots at no cost to them, thanks to him and his district leaders partnering with their local airport to bring 6 professional aviation simulators to his classroom. Students in this class spoke to me with a sense of pride about the skills and leadership traits that they saw themselves building as they showed me how to fly a virtual plane. And in Mount Airy, I met teachers that partnered with community organizations during COVID-19 to transform an old activity bus into the renamed Blue Bear bus. This bus travels the school district every summer to provide Title I students engaging STEAM and literacy programs and food. And at high school football games, occupational course of study students use this bus to serve refreshments to their community. Students across this district are able to receive a stellar education because it was designed and staffed with them specifically in mind. These unique examples exemplify how teachers across the state consistently find community resources to make their students' dreams come true. In these same schools, I met educators that love their jobs immensely, but have left their schools due to inadequate compensation. One passionate science teacher told me that she could not afford being a single-income household in an area with an increasing cost of rent. And an early career teacher shared that it made more financial sense for her to become a stay-at-home parent rather than continue to work in her public school and lose money while paying for childcare. The life-changing opportunities that teachers are creating for their students and the obstacles that get in the way of retaining highly qualified educators reveals how fragile of a moment we are in. Our public schools are doing their best to provide their students a sound basic education by working with treasured community partners. However, teachers should not and cannot continuously rely on a patchwork of non-renewable grants to try to continuously self-fund their students' education. And every student across the state should have access to specifically tailored learning opportunities that give them a sense of pride and belonging when they are at school. The urgency of this moment requires us to speak honestly about what is happening in our state. We cannot continue to euphemistically say that the General Assembly has failed to both pass the state budget and to more fully fund our public schools as advised by the West Ed report, when the same legislative body deliberately overfunded private schools with $533 million public dollars. 87% of these opportunity scholarships going to students that have never attended public schools. The General Assembly has deliberately passed income tax cuts for wealthy individuals and corporations that will result in the loss of $1 billion available to the state budget over the next year. In other words, we are experiencing a policy-manufactured sense of scarcity in our state budget that causes an unnecessary competition for educational resources between low-income families and wealthy families. Consequently, private schools receive more public dollars, while public schools like Cook Literacy Model School in Winston-Salem and Madison Elementary School in Guilford County are forced to close. When our state forces public school doors to close, it closes the opportunities that are available to students. And this reality gets to the heart of why fully funding public schools matter. Fully funding public education is more than just giving students new laptops and paying teachers livable wages. Fully funded schools provide students the education they need to imagine and build the lives they want for themselves and their communities. In this short session, the General Assembly has the opportunity and constitutional responsibility to fully fund both public education and the dreams of the students in our buildings across the state. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Maria Isabel Salazar, a U.S.-born citizen, a mother, proud daughter of immigrants. I am a resident of Wilson County with a student population that is about 24% Hispanic. As we advocate for an education for all, I'd like to bring your attention to how current events relating to ICE have instilled fear into our communities and our students across North Carolina. I'm going to share my fears with you, but know that I am only one of many parents that feel the exact same way. For the past months, I have taken extra measures to protect my children. I carry my children's passports everywhere I go just in case their status is questioned. I have had to role play with my son to ensure he knows his rights against ICE. I contact his school board to make sure that they have an ICE policy in place in case of ICE presence. Every day I wonder if I will make it to school drop-off or if I will be profiled by ICE as they are known to stake out near schools. Every night I lose sleep because I wonder if tonight will be the night my family is dragged out of our beds the same way federal agents dragged U.S. citizens, including children, out in a Chicago raid. As a parent, I refuse to be led by this fear. Instead, I will let it drive me to demand you vote for our students' constitutional rights, to vote for policies that protect immigrant students, to provide adequate funding for public schooling, and ensure that all of our public schools across North Carolina are able to provide mental health services for all of our students, to ensure that they too can have the very justice that they recite every morning. While they have their right hand on their heart, may we always speak up for them, be loud for them, because education is a right that every child deserves.
Good morning. My name is Morgan, and I'm a student here in North Carolina. And honestly, I just wanted to talk to you about what school is actually like for us right now. In Pitt County, we've lost nearly 70 teaching positions. And when people hear that, it might just sound like a number, but for students, it's not. It means bigger classes, less support, and teachers who are doing everything they can, but are stretched way too thin. You can feel it in the classroom. More students, less one-on-one time, and sometimes not even enough basic supplies unless a teacher buys them themselves or asks for help. No teacher should have to make a wish list just to get pencils, tissues, or books for their students. But it's happening all the time. And then there are programs that make school more than just school, like arts and clubs, extracurriculars. Those are the spaces where a lot of us find our confidence and our voice, but they're struggling too. And for me, this is personal. My first grade teacher was amazing. She was young, energetic, and someone who truly loved what she did. She made learning fun, and she made her students feel seen. But she left teaching, not because she wanted to, but because she needed to make a living. She went into real estate just to have financial stability, and that says a lot. Because if we can't keep great teachers in the classroom, what does that mean for students like me who are coming up behind them? Fully funding public schools should not be a debate. It should be a given. Because we're not asking for extras, we're asking for what we need to succeed. So I'm asking you to see us, to really see us, listen to us, and stand up for our schools. Because when you invest in public schools, you're investing in all of us. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Well, here we are again. The short session is starting today, and when I sat down to write my remarks for today, all I could think of was, I'm tired. I'm tired of asking. I'm tired of filing these bills. I'm tired of standing at microphones begging this state to fund public education. I'm tired of being ignored by this legislative majority, and I'm tired of being dismissed by the Supreme Court. But I am sure that I am nowhere near as tired as teachers like Mr. Adams, who show up every single day and do the work of 3 people for a salary that hasn't kept pace with 3 years of inflation. I'm nowhere near as tired as parents like Maria, thank you for sharing your story, who drive to this building and plead with us year after year after year to just get their child a full-time, well-paid teacher with a fully funded classroom. And I'm nowhere near as tired as students like Morgan, who sit in classrooms with long-term substitute teachers with no air conditioning, who sit down to prepare for their EOG every year, wondering if that substitute teacher taught them what they need to know to pass that grade. And I'm nowhere near as tired as the superintendents and the principals staring at blank spreadsheets, trying to build next year's budget without knowing what this state's budget is going to be. Yes, I am tired, but my resolve is unbroken. And if you think that Mr. Adams and Maria and Morgan and all the advocates that were outside this building this morning are going to stop fighting, you are mistaken. This issue is too important, and so I'm here today filing my 7th bill to fund the Leandro Comprehensive Remedial Plan. As of this year, we should be at year 7 of 8, as after that plan was approved in 2021. The Supreme Court's decision a few weeks ago did not end this fight. It did not rule on the merits. It was a procedural sidestep. The court never said that North Carolina was meeting its constitutional obligations. The last determination by the Supreme Court on the constitutionality of our public education system was back in 2022, when the court found that the legislature failed to guard and maintain the constitutional rights of North Carolina school children. And then in his April 2nd decision, Justice Newby had the audacity to state that, quote, "The judicial branch is not the venue in which to seek educational policy reform." This ignores the entire foundation of Leandro. The state constitution is not a policy preference. It is the Supreme Court of this, or the supreme law of the state. And interpreting it is the job of the court. The judicial branch has basically washed its hands of this issue and thrown it back to the legislature. Well, fine, then let's own it. It is our responsibility now, and now there's nobody left to hide behind. There's no more excuses, no more delay, no more deflection, no more shifting blame. All of the data and research shows that investment, real money, makes a decisive impact on education. We hear throwing money at something won't make a difference, but we know that sustained investment, especially in staff and resources, consistently improves student achievement. Targeted investments close achievement gaps for low-income students. They raise graduation rates, they raise college enrollment, they produce higher earning adults who strengthen the state's economy. We are lucky because we are not starting from scratch. North Carolina has already done this work. The Rust Ed report, the comprehensive plan, tells us exactly what we need to do and exactly what it costs. We don't need another study. We don't need another task force. We don't need another commission. We need a vote on House Bill 1017. So I want to close with the words of a Brunswick County teacher who emailed me this week, because I literally could not have said it better myself. Quote, "Delaying action is not neutral. It has consequences. Every year without a budget, every year without meaningful pay increases, pushes more educators out of the classroom and makes it harder to rebuild the system later. North Carolina is growing. It is attracting businesses, families, and new opportunities. But that growth is not guaranteed. It depends on the strength of our public institutions, and public schools are at the heart of that. If we continue down this path, we are not just neglecting education, we are undermining the very conditions that have allowed this state to succeed." Yes. I could not have said it any better. Thank you all for coming today. We'd be happy to answer any questions, any of the speakers. Yes?
Hi,
Hi.
Esther from the News and Observer. Having filed similar bills before, what sort of roadblocks do you come across year after year, and how are you going to work this session to stop those?
Well, of the 7 bills that I filed to fund Leandro, not one of them has ever even gotten a hearing in a committee. They are never even referred to the appropriate committee. They should be referred to either Appropriations K-12 or K-12 policy or Appropriations Education. They've always just been sent to rules, which we know is their way of saying that they're never going to hear this bill. So that's the roadblock. The roadblock is, it's very frustrating that these ideas, these concepts, these policy proposals are never even allowed to be debated. And I think that that is a disservice to the people of North Carolina. That is not the way we should be running this building, this state government. Everybody should have the opportunity to share their ideas. And if they don't like those ideas, that's fine, but let's have a conversation. At this point, we're not even allowed to have that conversation, and that's extremely frustrating. Yeah.
Hi, Kate from Carolina Public Press. How are you going to encourage others to rally around this bill, should it get to the point of having a hearing? when the legislature finds itself in such a divided climate, especially when it comes to school funding or just funding in general?
Well, for the last, 6 months since we've been out of session, I think that every member of this body has heard from people all over the state about this lack of teacher raises, about the lack of funding for their schools. I have been so impressed with the advocacy efforts of not just parents. Like I'm a past PTA president. I led these kind of advocacy efforts for years, so I love seeing parents involved. But what I've really been impressed with in the last 6 months is now we're getting many more teachers, superintendents, administrators to use their voices. And sometimes I feel like teachers don't feel comfortable doing that for whatever reason. Maybe it's a building-wide issue, a district issue. They feel like they can't speak out as much. But like in the last week, was it Beaufort County? Brunswick County. Everyone here got, 50 emails? 50 emails from teachers talking about how the lack of a budget is affecting them in their classroom. And they were each individualized emails, which is what I always tell people, tell us your story. And the email that I read today was one of those. And that is powerful, and I think that sustained effort and that sustained advocacy work is what it's going to take, and that's why groups are here today. They had a press conference this morning, and some of the same speakers spoke out there. It's going to take a lot of public pressure, and I'm really excited that the teachers are going to be marching on May 1st. We haven't had a big teacher rally like that since before COVID, and it's time. It's time because everybody needs to know what's going on, and I think that people are waking up for sure. Any other questions? Thank you guys so much for coming. Thank you all for my colleagues for coming today.